A movie rejected 43 times. Co-stars who hated each other. Water so cold it caused hypothermia. Executives convinced it would bomb. Then it made $214 million and changed pop culture forever. This is Dirty Dancing, the film nobody wanted that became the phenomenon nobody saw coming. Behind that iconic lift and unforgettable soundtrack was absolute chaos. Production disasters, on-set fights, extreme weather that hospitalized actors, and moments of pure accident that became movie magic. Today, we're counting down 15 weird facts you didn't know about Dirty Dancing. The near disasters, the freezing water, the real tension between Patrick and Jennifer, and the stuff you never noticed even after your 200th rewatch. Now, before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to TV Time Capsule for deep dives into the movies that raised us, and share this video with a friend who's tried that lift at a wedding and failed spectacularly. Let's get into it with number 15. Number 15. 43 studios said no before anyone said yes. 1985. Eleanor Bergstein finishes the Dirty Dancing script. She spent years researching, based it on her own Catskills summers. She takes it to MGM, and they love the title. Executive Eileen Massell reads it, gets excited, teams Bergstein with producer Linda Gottlieb. They start pre-production. Then MGM management changes, and new executives read the script. Pass. Film goes into development hell. Bergstein takes it to every major studio in Hollywood. Universal says no. Paramount says no.
You want? Got that guy's thing to do. Hey, hold it! Hold it.
Fox, Warner Brothers, all of them reject it. The reasons pile up. Too small, too niche, nobody cares about the Catskills. Dance movies don't sell. The topic of ending a pregnancy is too controversial. One executive literally said, "Nobody wants to see a movie about dirty dancing." By the time it's been rejected 43 times, Gottlieb is ready to give up. Then Bergstein reads a New York Times article about Vestron Inc., a home video distribution company in Connecticut, launching a motion picture division. Vestron agrees to meet with one condition. The budget has to be $5 million maximum. Gottlieb had calculated $8 million at its absolute cheapest. Cutting to $5 million seemed impossible. But they were out of options. Here's where it gets desperate. To hit that budget, Gottlieb had to house the entire cast and crew in the same hotel they were using for filming. No separate accommodations. Everyone crammed together. Then, 1986 incidents in Europe caused Americans to cancel foreign travel, and U.S. hotels got slammed with bookings. Prices soared. Finding affordable lodging became nearly impossible.
Score, and I thought I'd never find a guy as great as my dad.
Gottlieb finally found one hotel in Virginia, willing to work with their budget. One catch, they had to film in September. It was already June when the deal closed. 3 months to prep everything. The movie 43 studios rejected was about to be made for pocket change on an impossible timeline. Number 14. They hated each other before filming even started. Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey had worked together before on Red Dawn in 1984. That's where the problems started. The film took place during a fictional war, and the director wanted the young actors to undergo 8 weeks of military training to get into character. Patrick played the leader and took the role seriously, method acting the entire 8 weeks and never breaking character. Jennifer described him as an unprofessional troublemaker playing pranks on everyone. She told interviewers Patrick was being macho, and she just couldn't take it. By the end of Red Dawn, they weren't speaking. Fast forward to Dirty Dancing casting. Jennifer was already cast as Baby, and when Patrick's name came up for Johnny, she didn't want to work with him again. but their screen test showed breathtaking chemistry. Patrick got the role. That initial cooperation faded fast, and they were soon facing off before every scene. Patrick got frustrated with what he called Jennifer's silly moods and emotional nature. She'd burst into tears if someone criticized her performance. Other times, she'd slip into giggly fits, forcing them to reshoot scenes over and over. Jennifer, on the other hand, found Patrick's fearlessness
Bend your knees and go up. Go.
intimidating compared to her own fear and hesitation. The tension got so bad that producer Bergstein and director Emil Ardolino had to intervene. They forced Patrick and Jennifer to re-watch their initial screen tests, the ones with that undeniable chemistry. It worked temporarily. They'd remember why they were cast together, film scenes with renewed energy, then go right back to avoiding each other between takes. Here's the twist, though. Their real-life tension created the perfect dynamic for Johnny and Baby. The friction you see on screen, that push and pull, a lot of that was genuine. Number 13. Jennifer got hypothermia, filming the lake scene in 40-degree water. The famous lake lift, one of cinema's most romantic images. What you don't see is it was torture. The scene was scheduled for summer filming with warm water and comfortable conditions. Didn't happen that way. Heatwave delays at the start of production pushed everything back, and by the time they got to the lake scene, it was late October in Mountain Lake, Virginia. Water temperature had dropped to 40 degrees, just above freezing. Jennifer Grey, years later, said, "You have to be young and hungry to get in water that cold for that long, asking if you can pass away if certain body parts literally explode from cold." Patrick Swayze's autobiography called it horrifyingly, hypothermically cold. Here's what the scene looked like from shore. Crew members standing around in heavy coats with hoods up and gloves on, some with blankets, thermoses of hot coffee, everyone bundled against autumn cold. Patrick and Jennifer in the water, wearing jeans and a shirt. That's it, practicing the lift over and over, their lips turning blue, skin going pale, shivering so hard they could barely hold position. Choreographer Kenny Ortega watched knowing they needed the shot, but seeing Jennifer's condition getting worse. He later revealed Jennifer actually got hypothermia. Between takes, they'd stumble out, and crew would wrap them in blankets trying to warm them up, then back in for another take. Patrick had a severe knee injury at this point, with fluid building up, causing constant pain. Lifting Jennifer in freezing water, even though she was light, felt like lifting 500 pounds, according to his book. They filmed that scene over and over for multiple angles and different shots. Watch it now, that's not acting. Jennifer's lips really are blue if you look closely, and Patrick's grimace isn't Johnny's intensity. It's actual pain. Number 12. They never rehearsed the final lift and only did it twice in their lives. The iconic final lift where Johnny lifts Baby above his head during the big dance, that move was never practiced before filming. Jennifer had a genuine fear of being lifted over Patrick's head and kept putting off rehearsing it. They waited until cameras rolled to attempt it and nailed it on the first try. Jennifer later said she only did it on the day she shot it, never rehearsed it, and never done it since. What made it even more impressive was Patrick's knee injury. His knee was so bad during filming that fluid had to be drained from it regularly. Despite Jennifer being light, lifting someone overhead with a blown knee required everything he had. The lake lift earlier in the film was the same story, only performed twice in their entire lives, once in the lake and once in the finale. They never recreated it even at reunions or anniversary events. Jennifer called it a game day thing and said Patrick was the only person she'd ever trust to try it with because of his ballet training and strength. That final lift happens at the end of an exhausting dance number. Patrick's already been dancing for minutes, knee screaming, then has to hit that lift perfectly on cue. One take. No safety net, no practice run. The look of relief and joy on both their faces when he catches her? That's real. Real gratitude that it worked. Real respect for pulling it off. Real care for each other in that moment, despite their off-screen issues. Jennifer wrote in her memoir that what you see between them in that scene was genuine emotion. Number 11. Patrick's rage in the giggle scene was 100% real. The arm-trailing scene where Johnny teaches Baby a move and runs his fingers down her arm while she giggles. Feels playful and flirty, perfectly scripted. None of it was scripted. Here's what actually happened. They're filming in a tin building with no heat at 4 a.m. after shooting for 18 hours straight. Patrick Swayze is desperate to finish and go home. Director sets up the shot. Patrick stands behind Jennifer and trails his fingers down her arm. Simple, should take one take. Jennifer bursts out laughing. She's extremely ticklish, especially under her arms, and Patrick's hand brushes her underarm. She completely loses it. Cut, reset, try again. Patrick trails his fingers down, and Jennifer starts laughing before he even touches her, anticipating the tickle. Take 5, take 8, take 12. Jennifer cannot stop laughing. Sometimes she holds it for a few seconds, then cracks. Sometimes she's laughing before the scene starts. Patrick's face getting harder, his expression shifting from patient to annoyed to genuinely angry. Choreographer Kenny Ortega, watching from the side, realizes what's happening, and later said, the look on his face, no one directed that. That's not Johnny getting frustrated with Baby's inexperience. That's Patrick Swayze at 4 a.m., freezing cold and exhausted, watching Jennifer giggle for the 20th time in a row. Take 23. The director gives up and says we're using this, it's perfect. Patrick's annoyance, completely real, became one of the film's most beloved moments. Jennifer couldn't help being ticklish. Patrick couldn't help being irritated. And the camera captured two people at their absolute limit that somehow became movie magic. Number 10. The heat wave that sent actors to the hospital. September 5th, 1986, first day of shooting in Lake Lure, North Carolina. Temperature hits 102 degrees. Weather forecast had predicted mid-80s. They got a full-blown heat wave instead. Day 1, actors show up in period-accurate clothing from 1963, wool and polyester and layers, fabric that doesn't breathe. By noon, people are wilting with makeup running and actors drenched in sweat. Day 2, 104 degrees. One of the dancers collapses mid-rehearsal, and a medic diagnoses severe dehydration. She gets taken by ambulance to the hospital, and production shuts down for 2 hours. Day 3, 105 degrees, and now multiple people are struggling. Crew sets up cooling tents, ice baths, industrial fans, but it doesn't help much. Interior scenes were worse. The buildings had no air conditioning, and when you add production lights, massive bulbs pumping out heat, interior temperatures hit 120 degrees. Actors would do a take, stumble outside, some would get sick from heat exhaustion, then back in for the next scene. Patrick insisted on doing his own stunts, including a scene where he balances on a log over water. Kept falling off and hitting the water hard, did it over and over until his knee started swelling with so much fluid they had to drain it between takes. Several actors were hospitalized over the first week with heat-related issues, and the production insurance company started threatening to shut down the film. Then the delays from the heat wave pushed filming into autumn, which created a whole new problem: freezing water for the lake scenes. So cast and crew suffered through extreme heat for 3 weeks, then suffered through extreme cold for the final 2 weeks, from 105-degree conditions to 40-degree hypothermia, all in 43 days. Number 9, they fired Baby's mom at lunch and replaced her in 20 minutes. September 5th, 1986, Day 1. Lynn Lipton arrives on set to play Baby's mother in the opening scene with the Houseman family driving to Kellerman's resort. They film the car scene, and Lipton is in the front seat. You can briefly see her blonde hair in the final cut. That's all that remains. Between takes, Lipton keeps complaining about fatigue and weakness. Doesn't feel well, needs to lie down constantly. Producer Linda Gottlieb notes in her production diary that the actress has to lie down a lot. Everyone's concerned, but they push through and get the car scene done. September 6th, day 2. Lipton shows up looking worse and clearly unwell. They start filming her scenes with Jennifer Grey, but 2 hours in, it's obvious this isn't working. Gottlieb's notes say it is clear to everybody that this woman will not be Jennifer Grey's mother for much longer. At lunchtime, they send Lipton home and tell her to rest and see a doctor. Now they have a massive problem. There's a scene scheduled for that afternoon with Baby's mother, and they have 200 extras already on set being paid by the hour. Extras who can't be rescheduled. Producer Gottlieb looks around frantically for someone who can play this role immediately. Kelly Bishop, already cast as Vivian Pressman, the resort guest, is standing nearby. Gottlieb grabs her and says, "You're the mother now." Bishop asks, "What about my role?" And Gottlieb says, "We'll figure it out." They costume Bishop, do her makeup, and throw her into the scene with minimal rehearsal, filming it that afternoon with the 200 extras. Kelly Bishop's original role gets given to Miranda Garrison, the assistant choreographer who's been teaching Jennifer the dances. So now Garrison is simultaneously the assistant choreographer and an actress in the film. Gottlieb's notes sum it up perfectly. Kelly has one strong thing going for her. She is here. Number 8. Executives watched the rough cut and thought it was pornographic. Shooting wrapped October 27, 1986. On time and on budget. Nobody on the team liked the rough cut. Vestron executives watched it and were convinced the film was going to be a complete failure. Things got weirder when film dailies kept getting held up at the Canadian border because authorities thought it was adult content due to the title. Eleanor Bergstein seriously considered renaming it I Was a Teenage Mambo Queen. Then Clearasil, the acne product company, approached wanting to sponsor the film because they saw it as a vehicle to reach teenagers. When they learned about a sensitive plot point, they demanded that part be cut. Bergstein refused, and Clearasil dropped out completely. Without major sponsorship, Vestron had to promote the film themselves. Their plan was modest: release it in theaters for one weekend, then push it straight to home video, since Vestron had been in the video distribution business before film production. They genuinely thought theatrical release would be minimal. The executives scheduled a May 1987 screening for producer Aaron Russo to get his opinion. Reports from that screening said people in the room were uncomfortable and unsure. Nobody knew if audiences would connect with it. Test screenings had been lukewarm, and a large chunk of viewers didn't even realize there was a controversial subplot until someone pointed it out. Vestron pushed the release date from July to August 21, 1987, trying to avoid competition with other youth-oriented films. They printed a limited number of posters, booked a small number of theaters, and crossed their fingers. The film, they were convinced, would flop open to modest expectations, and then something nobody predicted happened. Word of mouth exploded. Number 7. Crew spray-painted dead leaves green every single morning. The film is set in summer 1963, but they shot it in fall 1986. That created an obvious problem. Leaves turning brown and orange, grass dying, everything screamin' autumn when it needed to look like July. The solution was absurd. Crew members with spray cans painting brown leaves green. Patrick Swayze later said it was the weirdest thing in the world to see guys going out with spray cans making brown leaves green again. But it wasn't a one-time fix. They had to do this constantly as more leaves changed color daily. Some mornings the art department would arrive early, and spend 2 hours spray painting the previous day's fallen leaves. If you watch closely, you can spot the paint job in certain scenes, especially wide shots where the green looks almost artificially bright. They also had to hide actors' visible breath during outdoor scenes since it was cold enough to see exhaled air. Directors would wait for moments between breaths or film from angles that didn't show faces during dialogue. The grass presented another challenge. Natural grass dies in autumn and turns brown. They couldn't spray paint an entire field, so they had to carefully frame shots to avoid showing too much ground, or they'd strategically place blankets and props to cover dead patches. The weather also became unpredictable. Some days would be relatively warm and sunny, perfect for summer scenes. Other days would be cold and overcast, requiring them to adjust the shooting schedule constantly. The continuity person had detailed notes about which scenes were shot, on which days to make sure the lighting and weather matched when editing. Number 6. Patrick fought to cut his most iconic line. Nobody puts baby in a corner. It's ranked number 98 on the American Film Institute's list of top 100 movie quotes of all time. Patrick Swayze hated that line. He thought it was cheesy, didn't make sense, and pushed back multiple times trying to get it removed from the script. The director insisted he try it as written. Patrick filmed it reluctantly, still convinced it wouldn't work. Then he saw the scene during editing and finally understood it. The context, the moment, the way it played before the final dance, it all clicked. What Patrick didn't realize during filming was that the line wasn't about baby being physically put in a corner. It was about her father and society trying to diminish her, keep her small and controlled. Johnny's declaration was him standing up for her autonomy and worth. Once Patrick saw that emotional context on screen, he got it. The line became instantly iconic. People quoted it at parties, used it in everyday conversation, referenced it in other movies and TV shows. It became shorthand for standing up for someone or refusing to let others be marginalized. Jennifer Grey later said that when they filmed that scene, Patrick delivered the line with such conviction that even though he'd complained about it earlier, in the moment he sold it completely. His natural charisma and the intensity he brought made even a line he personally disliked become unforgettable. The irony is that the line Patrick fought hardest against became the one he'd be remembered for forever. Number 5. They drained fluid from Patrick's knee between every take. Patrick Swayze came into Dirty Dancing already dealing with knee problems from years of professional dance. His mother owned a dance studio, and he'd been training since childhood, putting massive strain on his joints. By the time filming started, his knee was already compromised. The log balancing stunt made it worse. Patrick insisted on doing it himself, despite the danger. He kept falling off, hitting the water hard. After multiple attempts, his knee swelled significantly. Medical staff on set had to drain fluid from his knee between takes to reduce swelling and allow him to continue. Here's what made it brutal. Dance scenes required him to be light on his feet, executing complex moves that put enormous pressure on that injured knee. Every lift, every spin, every jump sent pain shooting through his leg. He'd finish a take and immediately ice it while crew reset for the next shot. The lake scene was particularly challenging. Cold water made his knee stiffen up, and lifting Jennifer overhead in that condition required fighting through intense discomfort. Patrick later wrote in his autobiography about dancing through extreme pain throughout his career, and Dirty Dancing was no exception. The injury affected him long after filming wrapped. It contributed to ongoing knee problems that would plague him for years. But during those 43 days of production, quitting wasn't an option. Too much was riding on the film, too many people depending on it working. So he pushed through, relied on medical intervention and sheer willpower to keep dancing. Number 4. The soundtrack spent 18 weeks at number 1 and sold 32 million copies. The Dirty Dancing soundtrack combined early 1960s classics with new songs that felt retro yet fresh. Nobody expected what happened next. The album spent 18 weeks at #1 on the Billboard 200 and sold more than 32 million copies worldwide, becoming 14 times multi-platinum in the United States and the all-time best-selling album in Germany. The song, Time of My Life, won the Oscar for Best Original Song, the Golden Globe for Best Original Song, and the Grammy for Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals. The soundtrack spawned 2 follow-up albums in 1988 and 2003. Here's something weird. Time of My Life became the 3rd most popular song played at funerals in the United Kingdom. A song about having the time of your life became associated with saying goodbye to loved ones, which, if you think about it, is oddly fitting. The soundtrack's success was completely unexpected. Vestron had such low expectations for the film, they barely promoted it. The music caught on through word of mouth and radio play. Songs like Hungry Eyes and She's Like the Wind became massive hits independent of the film. The impact went beyond sales numbers. The soundtrack sparked a revival of 1960s music in the late 1980s. Oldies stations saw increased listenership, and record labels started reissuing classic albums from that era. Dance studios reported surges in enrollment for partner dancing classes. Music from a $5 million indie film that executives thought would flop became one of the best-selling soundtracks in history and influenced pop culture for decades. Number 3. The best scenes in the movie were accidents caught on camera. The scene where Baby and Johnny crawl on the ground together wasn't in the original script. Patrick and Jennifer were rehearsing when the director walked in and watched them practice. He thought it looked great and told them to do it again while cameras rolled. They added it to the film exactly as rehearsed. Another unscripted moment came when the director found choreographer Kenny Ortega and assistant choreographer Miranda Garrison dancing a threesome routine with Jennifer, helping her with attitude and rhythm. The director saw it and immediately decided to add a threesome dance to the film with Penny, Baby, and Johnny. What came out was elegant, restrained, and beautifully filmed. This happened throughout production. The creative team realized that some of the best moments came from catching actors off guard or filming rehearsals. The natural, unpolished quality added authenticity that carefully choreographed scenes sometimes lacked. Jennifer's inexperience as a dancer actually worked in the film's favor. Her struggles learning moves, her genuine nervousness, all of that translated to Baby's character perfectly. Watching her improve throughout filming mirrored Baby's journey in the story. Number 2. The hotel had legal power to kill the entire film. Mountain Lake Lodge in Virginia served as the main filming location, and the cast and crew lived there during the shoot. In spring 1987, the hotel had a screening of the rough cut because they had contractual rights to block the film's release if they disapproved of how their property was portrayed. 2 hotel representatives were sent to New York City to watch the rough cut. Everyone waited nervously. If the hotel exercised their right to block release, the entire production would be worthless. The representatives returned to Virginia with a thumbs up, and there was tentative relief. The real test came when the film opened at the Lyric Theater in Blacksburg in August 1987. Local reaction would determine if the hotel made the right call. Everyone in town loved it. One local official said it was one of the greatest things that ever happened here and claimed everybody in the county had seen the film at least 6 times within the first month. Business at the resort exploded. The hotel put up a movie poster in the lobby and started marketing themselves as the Dirty Dancing location. Today, you can request to stay in the room Patrick Swayze or Jennifer Grey stayed in during filming, but be prepared for a long wait list. The location that almost killed the film became its biggest beneficiary. Mountain Lake Lodge hosts annual Dirty Dancing-themed weekends with dance lessons, scavenger hunts, and opportunities to recreate famous scenes. The lake itself became a tourist attraction, even though it mysteriously drained completely dry between 2008 and 2012 due to natural geological cycles. Number 1. From total flop to highest-grossing film of 1987. Let's bring it all together. Script rejected 43 times by every major studio. Finally made for $5 million by a home video company. The film opened August 21, 1987 with modest expectations. Critics gave it mixed reviews. Then something happened. Word of mouth exploded. Audiences packed theaters. The film that was supposed to disappear became the highest-grossing film of 1987, eventually earning more than $214 million worldwide on that tiny $5 million budget. But the financial success was just the beginning. Dirty Dancing became a cultural phenomenon that influenced how people viewed dance films, relationships, and coming-of-age stories. The film tackled serious topics while maintaining its romantic core. And there you have it. 15 weird facts about the movie nobody wanted that became the film everyone loved. Which fact shocked you the most? Tell us in the comments. Hit that like button if this brought back memories or taught you something new. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the movies and shows that raised us. See you in the next one.